Okay, folks. So the idea here is to go through, basically what we did in class, but that was a 3-hour lecture. We just want to go through the part of getting the Raspberry Pi registered and getting the code deploy agent running on it, and then getting our AWS pipeline up and running. This is the here's the chunk that we're going to do. I'm not going to do any of the didactic stuff. You can watch the lecture for that. Or if anybody else is watching this, they probably just care about getting this pipeline set up. So the idea is we'll push code up to either CodeCommit or Git. We'll fire off the pipeline, and eventually our code will end up on any remote Pis that we have set up, or Linux machines, but Pis for this purpose. Here's the setup I have. So I've got my development Pi here. We have a camera and just a DHT22 sensor. Sensor should probably be on, something like a processor like Arduino or something, and then send serial data XB or something like that, LoRa, which is what we normally do. But for this purpose, it's just a nice test. And then this will be the remote machine here. So once again, it has a camera and a sensor on it. And I guess we can just, for the purpose of showing what we're actually doing here, for anyone that's new, let's go to the development machine here. And what we can do is, I think this is all set up and good to go. So we can just do node or pm2.js. Let's see here, CD API maybe. Okay. And if we go to localhost 8000, we can't go to localhost. It's the Pi, which we're SSH'd into. Raspberry Pi desktop, I think that one is. .local. There we go. Cool. And you can go to /health. That'll return the health. Temp turns the temp, and image will take an image and put it in your public folder. You could display it on, front end, or do something else, put it up to S3, which is what we did before. I pulled that code out. I'll show you in a second here. Image. IMAGE. So it takes a snapshot and puts it in that folder. I pulled out our code base. I pulled out the database end, so it was before we had it writing to S3 bucket and then writing all our results to Dynamo. But just to make this a little bit cleaner, all that code shouldn't have been in one API. And this just makes it easier to understand. As far as the code goes, anyone that probably might be new to this, it's we have our app that's going to start off our server, and we're going to run that. Normally, I would run it with PM2. That's what we're going to do in our code pipeline. We have our routes, and these are those three. Well, three. We saw all four of them, but the 4 routes that we just saw, including the home page. The routes then go to our handle, to our controller, which I just called these, just to make it easy, right? Route controller service. So here are our individual controllers. They're going to call into our service. Services are going to either return an error or the data, and then we respond in kind, right? So if you take a look at the services, so get health, and then temp. If you had a different sensor like DHT22, you can just change that right there. Probably be better to stick that inside of your env file. We'll talk about setting up the env file, but you could put that in there if you wanted to, and then that way you could just set to a 22, or if you had a different sensor, do that. And then lastly is just taking a snapshot using libcam and sticking it into a public folder. So I would stick it into this folder. Right, so that's that picture I just took. Cool. Okay. So let's get out of here, and let's now we want to get all that code onto a remote Pi. So that's the whole goal here, right? All right, and here's the remote Pi. This doesn't have that. This doesn't have it on. This is a clean install. It has nothing on it. For the first time, I'm going to try to let my appspec file and my scripts actually install Node. I've been doing it by hand, but we'll see. It might not work. We'll see how well. It would work eventually, but it might not work the first time. So the first thing we need to do is get the CodeDeploy agent and get this registered as a endpoint device for CodeDeploy. So the steps are right here, and you might be you're coming here from one of two places. Either you're in class, and then you could just create a branch of our source that's right here. So you just create a branch of this source code, or if you're coming from Git, well, you can just grab this code and do whatever you want with it. Set it up your own fork or whatever you're going to do. Okay, so if you really want to test the whole AWS pipeline, then just push it up to your own account on AWS. Okay, so let's get out of here, and we want we'll need this side. We're going to set this all up on the remote machine. This is my develop machine. Kill. I'll just do Control C here. We don't need that. We don't need that running. Okay. And if we come down, we go to code deploy steps. Here are the steps. So we need the CLI. Normally I would install V2, but V2 is going to take a few more steps. So to get V2 on, you kind of have to go through all of these steps. These two are really slow. Your machine isn't locked up. It just takes its time. I'm going to be try to speed things up a little bit. I think I at least did this. I did that. I already did that part. So thank goodness. So let's copy, and maybe we'll just minimize this so we can see both here. And let's get this installed. I probably should have installed this too, because if you're in class, everybody has this installed already. But that's okay. And I'm going to need my credentials. So I'll hunt those down here while this is doing its thing. Let's go to. Almost there. Folks, I'm just going to set this up as the default. So AWS GURE. If I wanted a profile, tech profile, and then some profile name, right? Whatever you would want that to be, but I'm just going with default. And so I don't have to delete my credentials. I'm sick of deleting my credentials. I'm just going to do that over here. So put that here, paste. Come over here. And I'm just putting in my access key, then my secret key. And then US-East 1. And JSON for the output format. So if we so those are the values that I put in, right? My access key, my secret key, US-East 1 for me. Obviously it might be different for you folks. Okay, so that's good. I'm just going to check. I don't have this line up here, but I'm just going to make sure I've got Git installed while I'm here. Let's see. So there you go. You need Git. So if you don't do the V2 version, you do the way I did it with V1. Make sure you grab Git. Cool. And let's see here. I think the rest, I can check the pip installer, but I think we're all set there. But let's check that for kicks. No, there you go. So make sure you maybe just install V2. Then you'll go through and you'll do all of these steps. You won't have to back up the bus if you're missing something. Okay, so we're good. Let me AWS-V, and this will tell us that we have V1 on this machine. AWS There we go. So it's dash v, oh, dash v, so or dash version. So there you go. It's 119. Again, if you want v2, just do what follows. Don't do what I did up there. All right, so there we go. There's the that's the everything we needed to do so we can get started. So the version I'll update again. So this I've already did this. So let me do that. Then I'll push this up. Okay. So the way you'll see it, you need to you're going to need to create a new user in your account. Now, folks, this isn't the best way to do this. I mean, the steps are going to be relatively the same, but as far as permissions go, you're much better off. I got a link here. If you're in class, you have it. If not, just Google it. But this will show you how to be able to use STS and assume roles. So if you had an entire fleet, maybe you have 1,000 customers and you're sending these devices out, well, you're not going to make each customer a user in your account the way we're doing it right now. All right, so let's get rid of that. And I guess we can just kill that. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this. Get rid of some of the madness. Okay. So we are, let's see, where are we? All right, so for a new user in an account, I'm just going to go, let me do CI, let's do, I'll just do pipe for pipeline. Control C. Now here, this is just the new user that you're going to create in your account. This is really what's important. I mean, that could be anything as long as it doesn't exist. This could be anything too, but you need to remember what the heck this is or come back and find it. So this is how you're going to add this to a deployment group, deployment group for the CI/CD pipeline. So you have to remember what this is. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this name for everything I do, even on the other side. All right, so that's all you have to change. And then you can grab this line. Obviously, make sure you change to whatever your region is. And you can bring this here. And let's go ahead and paste that. Nice. Now, when you're done, you might want to kind of save the output. It's when I was first going through this process and trying to get all the scripts right and everything right, it was helpful to have all the information that I might need. Okay, so now we can jump down, and there is a script that does all this, but it just didn't work on the Pi. So we can make sure we have Ruby installed. Make sure for this line you change to whatever your region is. So just change that to your region, whatever that might be. I think pretty much every region has a version of the CodeDeploy service inside of an S3 bucket. All right, so we can paste that. Fantastic. And let's go ahead and change the permissions here. And do an install. This is relatively quick. Now, folks, when you're done, it's going to put this CodeDeploy YAML file right wherever you are. So wherever I was running this, which is, I guess, right in the home/Pi, but it needs to be here. If you run the script would move it. So if you're running the script on full Ubuntu, it works fine. Or an EC2 or something like that. But in this case, we can't run the script. So we'll just have to move that file. You could check, but it's not going to be there. But this will allow you to check. We'll just run this line as soon as it's done to move it. And again, it needs to be, right here is where we want it. Almost there. And then I'll stop this one. We'll start a new one on the other side. Not that it'll matter to you because I'm just going to bind them together. All right, and let's go ahead and paste. And if we do an ls here, now all we see is that install folder. We can get rid of that. You don't need that anymore. But if you then cat out, it should we should be all set. Let's check to make sure the agent is running. It will be. If not, it shows you how to start it. I guess when I say it, I mean me. So there we go. It's running. Green is good. We can Control C. If you needed to start the agent for some reason, it will start on boot too. And then here you could deregister the instance by just using the name that you created above and deregister if you wanted to at some point. Okay, so that's it. That's all we need. You remember the big thing that you want to take with us. The only thing we need on the other side now was this value right here, which I called P. Richardson pipe. Well, it's not the instance name, it's what you call the value. I just happen to call them the same. So we're going to have to add this key of name and then this value. And again, I'm just going to call everything this on the other side. Okay, let me stop this recording and I'll start a new one. Okay, folks, so if you are in class, then what you can do is just create a branch of this repository. If you're not, then just obviously grab the code here and do it as you see fit. But I'm just I'm gonna create a branch of this. I don't think I have any branches here. So I have the dev branch. I'll create a new one. I'll just call it exactly what I called the Pi when I registered it. So let's do this. I'm going to let me go back to the master here. I guess let's do this. Let's go back to the code, and I guess we just grab it here. So we're going to clone with HTTPS. Now, folks, you need permissions to do this. If you don't have them, then you can look right inside the README here. And if you go to the README and zip down, what you have to do is just go to IAM, right? Users, security credentials, HTTPS GET, and generate credentials. Download that CSV. It'll have a user and a password for using CodeCommit. If you don't want to have to keep putting that user and password in, run this line, and it'll store it for you inside of root and then .my credentials. That way you don't have to keep doing it. And maybe I will do that while I'm here, since this is actually, you know what? I don't need to do this because I'm now running this code. Excuse me, I'm now running this code on my develop Pi, not on the remote one. So I don't need to worry about this. I even have I have my credentials and everything already on there. Okay, so I think I just copied, but let's make sure. Well, we'll find out. All right, so let's come here. Now I'm at my develop Pi and cd .. and we are let's go. There we go. So let's just do make directory, and I'll do temp, and I'll do git clone, and I'll clone that repository. So in class is exactly what you're going to do. Although you could oh, wait a minute. Oops, sorry. I didn't change into temp. You could just create your own repository if you wanted to. So you still have to clone it, but then you can push it up to a new one instead of a branch. I don't care how you do it. It's not asking me for my user and password, one, because I already did it, and two, because I copied that line. I told you guys to copy, so you don't have to keep doing it. All right, so now we can do a git switch, and we'll do tag C, and call it whatever you want. I guess I'll call it. Oh man, I already forgot. No, that's not it. I already forgot. Did I call it P. Richardson pipe? What I call it on the other side? Getting a little punchy here. Let's go look. I forget what I called it. P. Richardson pipe. There we go. We can kill that. Let's call this the same thing. That's not it. P. Richardson pipe. Let's see. Git switch. Fatal, not a Git repository. Here it is. Oh, I still haven't changed into the actual repository that I cloned. Definitely punchy. All right, so now we can git switch, and we'll so there we go. Git branch. So now we have master and pipe. Now we can just push that up. Now you have to push it upstream, but if you just do git push, it then gives you the line in case you don't remember it, right? And then you can copy and then just paste that in here. And sometimes it'll just be a little bit persnickety, as any of you know who's ever copied and pasted while you're doing SSH. Nice, cool. So now if you come over to branches, you'll have a branch, and that's the one I'll use to fire off the pipeline. All right, so let's set up the pipeline. So we can come over here, and again, I'm just going to use the same name for everything. Go to pipelines, and we'll create one. Nope. How about that? And we'll create a new service role. You don't need to change any of the settings. You can use the default location for your artifacts. The data, that's files that are generated between your stages, right? And we want CodeCommit here. The repository is this, and the branch, I'll use this new branch that I created. Defaults are fine. The build provider, you could use Jenkins. We're using obviously a CodeBuild here. Now we don't have a project, so we'll have to create one. The nice thing is they give you a button to create a project. Once we get to deploy, you're gonna have to create an application. They won't let you do the same thing though. Why? It's like two different people coded these windows, but you could create the app first, but I'll show you how to do it when we get there. So let's create a project. And oops, did I just do that? Let's do Control-C. Again, I'm going to keep using it. We don't need any tags here. We don't need to make a change. Operating system is going to be Ubuntu. Right? Runtime standard v6. Environment is Linux, and we'll create a new service role. That's fine. We'll use the build spec. I remember you might see a question on the exam that asks about the location of that build spec. It must be in the root, but if you don't want it to be in the root, you can make a change and say where you want that build spec to be. But we're going to leave it right in the root. That's where I have it. And we can leave on CloudWatch. We don't need to worry about a group or a stream here. Okay, so that's good. A single stage is all we need. I don't think there was anything else. And we want to code deploy. And here's where it would be nice if they had a button to create application, but they do not. So let's just come over here and we'll go to deploy, right click on application. We'll open that in a new window. Don't close this after all that work. So we'll create a new app. Again, the big picture, you wouldn't want to probably name all of this the same, but makes this easier, especially when you're first doing it, to wrap your head around the madness. So we want on-prem, EC2 on-prem. And now we need a deployment group. And this is where we'll add all of the pies. We could have a dozen Linux machines that are all part of this deployment group. And every time we push code, it would get sent out to those machines and, delete the code that's there and restart, which is kind of cool. And I'm just going to call the group the same thing. Now you can use the service role that I have here. But let's do this. Come up here just for anyone else that might be watching that's not in class. If I go to IAM, let's open this up in a new tab. I'll show you what you need to add if I remember. Well, I'm going to kind of take the shotgun approach here though. But let's go to our roles and we'll create a role. And we want it to be for CodeDeploy and CodeDeploy, and we'll choose next. Cool. And we don't need any boundaries here. We'll go next, and I'm just going to do that. CodeDeploy, and that's good. Okay, so we can create. Cool. Okay, so and here it was right here. All right, now just we're going to add another policy here. Now under the trust relationship, right? Entities that can assume this role under specified condition. Well, CodeDeploy. So it can assume it, and obviously the action here is assume role. Under permissions, though, we're going to have to add, and we'll attach a policy, and we're just going to give it full permissions. not best to take the shotgun approach. So it's going to give it full access. We'll add permissions. Cool. Okay, cool. So there we go. And it's P. Richardson pipe code deploy. And that's it. Okay. So there's no save or anything for this. We're done. What we can do is we can come back here now, and we could use that one if I don't think they're going to allow us to. If I refresh this window, it would probably be there. But that new one would work. This one's identical, so I'm just going to grab that one. So in place, and we want on-prem. Now here is where you add your pies, and this is critical. This has to be uppercase N, AME, or else it's a different key. It's Linux, right? And then this is P. Richardson pipe. That's what I called it, right? That the key value pair that I added when I registered the pie, and you could add others if you had more. This is cool. It'll keep the deploy agent up to date if you want. And we don't need a load balancer, although we just gave it permissions to do load balancing. Let's see, and I think that's all we need. All right, so let's see. I think all of that should be good. Okay, so now we can use that. Well, if we just put in that name, and then again, these do not have to be the same. Might not even be a good idea to have them the same. Definitely P. Richardson pipe's not a good name. And we're done. Here's where you hope and pray. It'll fail, hopefully not this one, but it's going to fail, folks. I told you in class when I first did this, it failed a lot. But, obviously I was working on the code too, and getting the build spec and the app spec correct, and permissions and what I wanted to happen. What I added, I don't even know if I went through it when I looked at the code or not, or if I even looked at the code. I've talked about this so many times. So while that's doing it, if I've already talked about the code, sorry. I know I have with students, but I'm pretty sure I just did. So I'll let you guys go look through the code. By the way, the code goes, right? So from app to router to controller to service, I got rid of the database stuff just to make this a little bit cleaner, but you can follow along. But what I did add here was, if we go to our scripts, if you go into appspec, right, it's obviously going to run your scripts that you have, your hooks. I'm installing Node and Node source here. Usually I would just have it on the pie, so I wouldn't have those two lines. So I don't know if that's going to work or not. I mean, it should, but I mean, it would be maybe a permissions thing or something. I'm not sure. If I already went through the code while that's running, so I'm gonna have to watch it spinning. I apologize, but for those of you that might be kind of new to Node or such, our app starts everything off, right? From there, we then have our routes, right? So I've got my routes. I pass in my app, right? This is my Express app. You don't need to use Express, but it does make it easier, right? So we go into the router. And so up here we have routes, and we bring in that router. That's that router file. And you'll notice we bring in the controller file. So this is going to route. These are our routes that we can go to. We did that at the beginning, I'm pretty sure. And then that routes to our controller. In between, you probably want to have middleware that validates. So we go to our controller. And our controllers are just going to make calls out to our service, right? And our service are going to check the health, or our service is going to go out and get the temperature for us through our temp, or the service is going to take an image. Service is going to return data for us, and it's either going to return the data or it's going to return an error, right? So we can come back to our controller. Nice thing to notice, you kind of notice where the separation of concerns here. Your API stops here, right? So you could actually switch out any API you want and then plug it in, and your service is agnostic to that. It doesn't care, right? So you might be passing data. I'm not passing any data here, but you would separate that out. Don't pass your request object on, right? So make sure that request object stops, and then pull out the data you would need, and then pass it on to your service. That way your service would never have to change if you want to change your change from Express or some other API or what happens before this. All right, let's go take a look, and voila, we have green, green, green. So what does that mean? Well, it means that we should be able to come up here. Well, first, let's just go and let's go look here. Right? And if we do ls, right, we now have server. We had nothing there before. If I cd into server, we do ls, there's our application. How freaking cool is that, right? And it ran, right? So if you look inside the scripts, right, PM2 ran our application for us. So it's not only that, it will be running. Let's see here, application start is what I want, right? So, right, it actually starts our app. It CDs into the folder where app.js is, starts it, and then gives it a save. And we'll make one change after this. So first, let's just go see it, do a test, so we can come up here, and it's called, what I call it? Did I just call it remote? I think I just called it remote.local. Now, if I don't have an env file installed, it'll just use defaults, which means it's listening on 3000, and I didn't add an env file, so that should be the default. So if we do slash image, it'll take a picture, and then obviously all the others will work too. That, and then we can do slash temp, and temp is 27, whatever that is in Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit, obviously that's Celsius, or I'd be shivering. Okay, so that works great, right? So let's make a change and show that we can now just push code up, and it's going to update on all of the machines that are bound, right? It's funny, after kind of working through this and doing other CI/CD pipeline processes, excuse me, it's still fantastic to see it. You kind of get giddy. Okay, so let's add the env file. So if we go to the code base here, here's what needs to be in it. I mean, you can set all of these to whatever you want, but let's do this, and let's come back here, and we want this to be in here, right? So that's where your hooks are going to copy it from. Right? So remember, if we come up here, right, it before install, it does what? It looks for that env file inside a home py, and it'll put it inside here for you. Now, the other thing to note is, probably didn't notice, but you notice where I have the machine ID. I put a little note to say, hey, set up your env file if you want to have some actual machine there. Okay, cool. So let's do a sudo nano or vim, and we want .env, and we can paste this data in. Oh, come on. All right, let's come back here. This is what we want. Control C. Come here. Gotta be kidding me. No control V is not going to. Now let's try right click copy. One of them will usually work. And then you get to that point where you're like, why didn't I just start typing? And I'm kind of getting at that point. All right, so we want cap locks express underscore port, and I want that to equal. Now it can be whatever you want, right? Oops. I have it set to 8,000. Obviously, I'm setting to 8,000 here, but it defaults to 3,000 if it doesn't find the env port, right? So CLIENT, and I'll do me, and I don't want that uppercase though. And then lastly, machine ID, and we'll do underscore ID, and that'll be equal to remote. And obviously, you'd have a better name than that. It might be in specific offices around the world, or testing machines or whatever. You'd want to have a name that's better, obviously. All right, so Control X, and I think I misspell anything. I probably did, knowing me, but all right. So that's good, right? Our server is still running. which is kind of cool. All right, so here it is. Let's just make sure. Okay, so let's go and make a change to the code base. So I'll go to my development machine. All right, so we'll go back over to this one here. I do have a I could browse to it from here, but let's just make a change here. It's quicker. All right, so CD. Where the heck did I? Oh, I'm inside of temp. Okay, so let's do that and ls cd into API, and then we'll do sudo nano public. I see /index. Isn't that right? dex.html. Nope. Where the heck am I? How the heck did I get out of there? I don't know what I did. So let's do, I don't know how I got so far out of there. CD temp, ls, we should have now CDs, and then API, right? /. Okay, so now let's just CD into public. All right, node index.html. Oh, that was a process. Oh, not node, but sudo nano.index.html. And let's just change the name here to something else. I didn't even notice I had hello for the one that we were at. So there you go. Hello. I don't know if you can actually see it in the recording, but it's up there. Okay, and we'll just add a version or something, or maybe we'll just add something here so it stands out a little bit more. Let's come. Goodness gracious, getting a little bit punchy. Let's come down and we'll just put V1 or something here just to show a change. Okay, git add, git it-m update and git push, and let the pipeline fly. Again, the cool part is not only is it going to, it's going to tear down the existing one at some point and get the new one back up and running. And obviously, you could set this to only happen a specific time of day. If most of your customers are working whenever, you could do it, or you might want to try blue green or something like that. So you're just not shutting down their service. Anyway, the idea is to show the process. Yeah, I was going to say we can go watch it, but I'm sick of watching it. But let's go watch it. There we go. We're at the build stage. We don't have far to go. It's probably a little more wordy than I wanted it to be. Sorry, but you can listen to it on double speed or something like that. I probably won't spend too much time editing this, so I'll leave it up to you guys to fast forward. I'll update the code. I made some changes to the code, so I'll try to make sure I get the Git repo updated and and I'll bind this video. So I'll stick this video on YouTube so everybody can find it, and I'll bind it to the README. Or I'll put with YouTube. I'll put the link to the Git repo too. So there we go. So we're down to deploy anyway. That's a good sign. It was funny. I had like a week. When I was first learning this, I had a week of this failing right here. And it doesn't give you a lot of information, but it is nice to at least let you know that it just never started. And it was just because I had that CodeDeploy config file in the wrong spot, and I just had no clue. So it was it was just horrible. And again, the cool part is installing node source and node obviously worked here, so we didn't even have to have that on the pies, right? So you could kind of ship to your customer, you know, a pie. You could use STS to do it, so you don't have to create a user, and you know, you just kind of ship that device out, and you know, they plug it in and get it updated. So everything succeeded. So if we come here. Now, if we can't refresh this one. Normally, you could just refresh and keep using this, but this should now be running on 8,000 because we now have that ENV in place, and the ENV was running on. And there you go. There's our V1, just like magic, and everything is up and running. Cool. I hope you guys have fun with it.